Hey everyone, this is going out for the investors that are interested or thinking about selling their investment property. Now, if it's an investment property and not your primary residence, you are subject to tax implication. To avoid those taxes is you would do a 1031. Where you can't touch the money, it has to go to a third party. Now that third party is a 1031 exchange. They can hold it up to 180 days, so 6 months. Now, when it goes beyond a day after that, that money gets sent to you and you'll be taxed accordingly. And also the 1031 will take out their fee also, regardless if you buy a property or not. So just be aware of that. Hypothetically speaking, say if you're making $500,000 in proceeds, you actually get that money wired to you, it's taxable accordingly. As I said, 25, 35, 40, I've seen up to 40%. Okay, so each person's different, each person's situation is different, but you avoid that by going through a 1031. Now the difference is on a primary residence, okay, if you're married, you have up to $500,000 that's not taxable. Anything beyond that is taxable. So the things to look for, so when you're ready to sell that investment property, the next property you buy, you really have to set up what is your goals. Where do you want to invest in? What is your goals? Do you want to have a property that is closer to you? Do you want a single family residence? Do you want multi-units? Do you want commercial? So there's a lot of variety of things. You got to really know what your goals are, really pinpoint that so you can actually navigate a lot quicker once you identify your goals. Another thing that's big, which I'm big on, is cash flow. How much the property is producing as an income. So a lot of people use a cap rate. This is basically how it works, and I'll sum it up very easily. It's what's coming in on the property and what's going out on expenses and what is left. That is your cash flow. Very, very simple. Next thing after cash flow is your location. Now, this is and I'm in California, Southern California. So California has a state rent control. So hypothetically speaking, if you buy a property that's in, say, the city of LA, they have stricter guidelines on the rent control than the state. So you got to adhere to the city of, for instance, the city of LA and their rent control ordinance. So you have to really understand the location. What are the rights for the landlord? What are the rights for the tenant? Is it under rent control? Is it not? There's a lot of variety. It can really fluctuate from city to city. Each city is different on their guidelines. Whatever one's stricter is what you got to adhere to. The next thing I would say after location is what type of property you want to buy. Do you want to buy a single family residence? Do you want to buy 2 units, 3 units, 4 units? Now, anything beyond 4 units is called commercial. And that's a completely different ballgame. When you buy commercial, it's not you qualifying for the property, it's the property qualifying, meaning it's the income that property generates that's going to be the structure of the loan. So it's a little bit different because anything that's 4 units and under is considered residential financing. Anything beyond 4 units is considered commercial. So you really have to know what you're doing and what some might say is your other investment, because you do not want to give Uncle Sam 30 to 35% of your proceeds of your investment property in which you took all the risk. So a lot of my clients and myself, once I sell something, I move it up. I buy a bigger property, potentially even price-wise even greater. Cash flow, everything. You just want to keep on moving up. You don't want to move down. You got to understand how you're investing, what you're doing, because you can yourself over, because you buy a property. Oh, it's a really good deal in the city of LA. They're paying $500 a month, okay? And the normal rent is $3,000. You can't get them out there. You can only increase them 4% a year. 4% of 500 is not that much money. So you got to look at that. There's nothing you can do. If you want to relocate them, they have to agree on it, and you got to drop like 30K. Things to look out for. I was selling this one property, City of LA. City of LA has one of the strictest rent control, that outside of San Francisco, the strictest. And there was an illegal unit in the garage that was converted. So the buyer that was buying, now I'm selling the property, I'm representing the seller. The buyer wanted that vacant. Now this is a legal unit. He did not want to move. I think the seller ended up having to give them $40,000, if I'm not mistaken, to actually move. So you really got to know what you're getting in with. This is not even a legal unit. But the tenant is still protected by the guidelines as a tenant under rent control. And so for us to execute the sell, they wouldn't want to leave. We couldn't do anything. We had to figure out a deal that was beneficial for both. It just happened to come out to $40,000. Now, mind you, $40,000. We only sold this property for $549,000. That is almost 10%. We had to give that money before we closed. And then we had to seal up the property and so forth. But $40,000 for a tenant that shouldn't be there. Actually, technically speaking, I'm going through, the tenant actually was a squatter. Yes, squatter. And the squatter was there for over a year. They're identified as a tenant.
And they woke up with $40,000.
And they woke up with $40,000. Probably never had $40,000 in their whole life. But those are the situations you have to understand when you're investing. Do a walkthrough of your property every 6 months, every year, because a lot of these properties I sell, the tenants are completely hands off. Number one, the property's run down. Just like the story I gave, there's people living in the garage, in a storage unit, and in a rent control area. Okay, that is a different ballgame. If they've been there and can identify that they've been there for a period of time, they are considered tenants. So you do need to walk these properties, I would say every 6 months. A lot of these properties I sell, they're just completely hands off. The property manager doesn't even go there. Nobody goes there. They're run down. You got people living in storage in the garage and so forth. So there's a lot of nightmare stories. That's why it's very, very important that you know what you're investing in. It's the price, it's the cash flow, and what's the situation with the tenants. There's a lot of determining factors. It's just not like, oh wow, they're selling that property for $500,000. Wow, the comparable is over $7,000. Okay, well let's take a deeper look. Let's take a deeper dive in this. What are they paying in rent? Okay, what's the situation of the property? So there's a lot of determining factors in just looking at the price. You gotta look more, you gotta dig deep on this. Let's talk about residential, 4 units and under. Right now with where the prices are going, a lot of things on the market right now don't make sense. What I mean by that is, say the property brings in $5,000 a month, minus expensive and everything, but your mortgage is $6,500. So what I'm saying is, predicate how much you put down, 25. I think if you're gonna put down 25%, 30% on a property and break even or be a little negative, might not be the deal for you. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. You gotta really understand. And another big thing in this key thing is, what type of financing are you doing? What's your interest rate? So you can actually do accurate numbers on the debt and the income that's coming in, and see if this particular property makes sense for you. So there's a lot that goes in it, And as I said, it's ideal in the city of LA. I got a lot of multi-unit listings right now in the city of LA. It's also the relationships with the tenant. Are they disgruntled? Are they this? Because in a rent control area, they can really give you sleepless nights, to say the least. You definitely gotta cover all bases and so forth. I sell a lot of stuff in LA, and I find I get majority of my calls, if not from agents, from buyers that already own other properties in that direct neighborhood, so they know how it works. They know how the rent control works. Now it's just getting that closer look, looking at the rents, looking at that, but they already know the area and they're experienced with the city. There's always an angle. Right now, cap rates are relatively low across the board. What cap rates are is return on your money, okay? You do 1%. So I would say normal cap rates right now in LA County are right around 5%, which is relatively low. I've seen them up to 4.5 to 5%. Or you go in different areas, you go out of state, and it's 10%. You see? So there is there's deals to be had, but you just gotta look. It's not like you can just pop online, go on the MLS. Not saying you can't. Yes, you can. You just gotta do your due diligence. And another thing that's big, huge, is vacancies. Vacancies are gold because going on the selling side, vacancies and buying side. Vacancies are gold because if you're a buyer, wouldn't you like to put in your own tenant, the one that you approved, rather than one that was already approved? You don't know that relationship, but you're putting in someone fresh. Everyone wants that. Vacancies are like gold. Okay, I'll give you an option here. You got this property, everyone's paying market rent, or I can get a property completely vacant. I'm gonna choose a property that's completely vacant. I wanna put in who I want, and I'll get that market price. Although I'll be a negative for a few months, I'm gonna approve the tenants that are going in there. Each situation's different, but bottom line is, if you are interested or thinking about selling your investment property, reach out to me. No obligation. I just want to kind of go over, first of all, your property you're selling, and then hopefully find out what your goals are. Because ultimately it's what your goals are, and then filling in the blanks for you, and I'll do the due diligence on each property.